Recording in progress.
Thank you. I'd like to call to order the Town Council meeting for March 7th, 2023. It is currently 7 o'clock, and we are in the Harvey Hearing Room. The Zoom information, the meeting ID number is 841-0736-8829, and the phone number is 1-309-205-3325. Council Clerk, please call the roll. Nope.
Council Honan?
Here.
Council Fusillo?
Here.
Council Munson?
Here.
Council Belcher?
Here.
Council DeMarco?
Here.
Council Flockhart?
Here.
Council Aiello?
Here.
Vice President Ruggiero?
Here.
President Lettieri?
Yeah, I'd ask a scholar to please rise, and I would ask Ella DeMarco to lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd ask everyone to please remain standing. And I would like to offer a moment of silence for Pat McGee. Pat moved to Winthrop and Point Shirley specifically after World War II and stayed there for 80 years. To say she loved the Point is a huge understatement. She had multiple interests and an incredible singing voice. Pat was a soloist at Holy Rosary, a 60-year member of the Winthrop Playmakers, served as president, director, and producer of numerous productions and beautiful performances as well. Pat loved and took great pleasure in leading the festivities in the Point Shirley's 4th of July Horribles Parade. Coach McGee began her legendary coaching career as a volunteer, then an assistant coach in 1974. And became the head coach of the Winthrop High School boys track team in 1981, making her the first woman coach in Massachusetts to coach a boys high school team. Her 36-year success is legendary and includes 9 Coach of the Year awards, 14 NEC championships, 14 conference championships, 5 Class D state relay championships, and 3 state track championships. Pat is a member of the Winthrop High School Hall of Fame and is also one of the first women to be inducted into Massachusetts Track Coaching Hall of Fame. And in recognition of all her accomplishments, the new track at Miller Field was named the Patricia Pat McGee Track in her honor. A truly remarkable woman who embodied everything that is good about Winthrop. Thank you. Moments from the February 21st, 2023 meeting have been circulated. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion.
Motion by Councilor DeMarco, second by Councilor Flockhart. Any discussion, additions, deletions? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Abstentions, the ayes have it. It's passed. Public hearings. We have a continued public hearings to approve and to amend the Code of Ordinance on the wetlands, which I believe is still being continued.
Looking at it,
We will be continuing that hearing. We also have a continued hearing on the solid waste. We went over this in earnest and much discussion over the last meeting, but we wanted to keep it open if any members of the public had any feedback, follow-up. So I will open the public hearing and ask anyone on Zoom wish to be heard. And this is on the solid waste ordinance. Anyone from the public wish to be heard?
No.
Any councilors wish to be heard?
Well,
Councilor Flockhart.
I did question one little thing. Toward the end, it lists that the town manager shall provide a fee schedule by May 31st for the upcoming fiscal year beginning on July 1. The solid waste invoices will be mailed out biannually in July
July and January.
It seems like they should be issued before the start of the fiscal year.
No, they go, you have to bill it in the fiscal year, so you bill it July 1, and then you'll do another one January, and
Okay.
that'll be the tax year, half year mark.
That was it.
That's it. You know, this will go now to rules, which is kind of crazy because it's been to rules in some respects. And again, my questions on this really stem from the abatement process, and I know it's discussed in the ordinance. There isn't any specific language on fees and stuff, and options for people to either get a smaller barrel or such. So I would look for more specific language on that. Any other comments from the council? All right, we will close that public hearing. Public comment. Yes, President Gill.
I'll identify myself. I didn't the last time, and you corrected me. Excuse me, Peter Gill, Precinct 3.
Excuse me?
I-
Peter Gill, Precinct.
Precinct 5,
Thank you.
sorry. Just checking to see if you were listening. Wow. I guess I'll sit down. I just would like to take a few moments to, under this part of the trash ordinance, to make a few comments that, first of all, as a former council member and a member of the Housing Authority Board of Directors, but most importantly as a citizen, you've all heard me over the years probably saying too much about the efforts of our town departments working as a team, working together, no ulterior motives, and getting things done in a real good way. No, you know, and whether it's in no towns do the schools and the other departments get together, and in many towns, neither do the police and the fire. But anyway, Winthrop is unique in that right, and I really appreciate that. As a member of the council and of the Board of Directors of the Housing, I've seen that same kind of cooperation. Steve cooperating with Peg when it comes to snow removal, whatever, and I really appreciate that. Most recently, I appreciate, let me back up. Thing that's unique about that is Winthrop is a town agency, Housing Authority is a state agency. You don't have to work together, you can fight like hell, okay? But that's not what's happening here. Our council, our town manager, have worked cooperatively with Peg and Lyons, our executive director, and with the Board of Directors. Most recently, it really came to light when the TIPS project was going on, and the Housing Authority was mistakenly identified as town-owned, town property, town organization, and therefore they weren't notified of all of the eminent domain stuff that was going on. Rather than everybody getting mad, Tony called them in, Jim called them in, had a very nice meeting, explaining each other's concerns, trying to work to a common goal that was in the best interest of everybody in town. More recently than that, Tony and Jim called together Peg Lyons to discuss the trash ordinance. You know, we have loads of units that have one person living in them. We're gonna charge each unit $160, and they work out an agreement. I believe it's finished, but I just wanted to recognize the fact that I always use the word team, and I think Winthrop is so unique in a team efforts of our individual departments, as well as the team efforts between a local organization and a state organization. Thank you for your time. Did I exceed my 3 minutes, Mr. President?
You did not, you are fine. Thank you. Mr.
Thank you.
Gill. Any other public comment? Yes, Karen.
Karen Chavez, Precinct 2. I already spoke my piece at the finance meeting. It's about the $15,000 for the pest control. And I'll just give you a couple of little things that bother me. I know that Council Fusilla will speak of this later on, but these were just my own thoughts. This is an ongoing issue. It seems like every year, there's not enough money there. My question is the company being proactive or just baiting as the needs arise? Where are the most frequently needed areas? Is trash/garbage being properly disposed of? Now, that would be business or homeowner, I don't care which. And as the company we use, do we need to have a look at a change? Do we need somebody else who will take better care of us? I know, and I said this to the three councilors and the council president, I know $15,000 is not a lot of money in a $70 million budget, but it seems like we do this every single year. So I think it's about time we start looking at the cause and what we can do, whether it's education or whatever, what we can do to help solve it.
Thank you. And I will say to that I don't believe, and we will, and Council Fusilla will talk about this and the need for information, but my understanding is this is more of an unfunded liability than it is an extra cost. You know, we've had a couple of items over the years that the town just has never, you know, a knowing obligation that they just, for whatever reason, it's kind of slipped through the cracks. And we've made notice of that and you know, allotted monies, I believe, last year in this budget. So as Council Fusilla will state later, we'll still be looking for some more information on this, and we appreciate your comments. Any other public comments? Seeing none. Correspondence, Denise?
I have none.
Committee reports. We spoke about you already tonight a couple of times, so you are on. Councilor Fusilla.
So the Finance Committee met just before this meeting. We had 3 items on the agenda. It was, the first one was to unpaid bills from the prior year. Next one was to review the Winthrop Fire Department fees, and the third one was the one that we just talked about, Karen Travis alluded to, is the $15,000 for ISD pest control. For the unpaid bills and the fire department fees, we moved forward with positive recommendations. Felt those two, you know, one's bills that have to be paid, and the fire chief gave us a lot of information about the fire department fees and how ours are extremely low compared to the communities around us, and they haven't been changed since, what was it, 1996. So it's about time we get in line with the other communities. And that will be, well, if passed today, it'll be effective July 1st. And lastly, the $15,000 for the ISD pest control. There was a lot of discussion surrounding, like, you know, what methods did they use. Karen Chavez once again brought up a bunch of great questions on, you know, where, why, all that kind of stuff. And so coming out of, it did come out of committee, but we don't have any recommendation for it. So it's going to be pushed to the council with no recommendation attached to it. That's the only one that we have no recommendation for.
Thank you, Councilor. Economic Development, Capital Assets.
We had our second meeting and we reviewed the 5-year capital assets management plan provided by Tony, our town manager, and it's we're very happy about it. It's going to be our first official one. We did make some adjustments to the verbiage that goes out with the capital asset plan, and that would be just to help explain where we're coming from and what our approach is as a town, and also as far as the grants and the money that we're going to be using to try to tap in to manage this capital asset plan. And then we also reviewed some of the capital like the sources of funds, and like the Green Communities Fund, where there are deviations of how much you can take per year. There's typically a $250,000 per year cap, or you can do a one-time $500,000 cap. And so it was a very fruitful meeting, and we're looking forward to getting that approved and moving forward.
Thank you very much. Councilor Belcher, appointments, commissions, and committees.
Thank you. The committee met last night and we covered the committee handbook as well as council employee evaluations. The committee handbook is ready to go on our end pending review by the town manager or HR on the harassment policies. I'll circulate a copy of that to the council, and we'll have a motion at the next meeting. Then we talked about council evaluations. Per the charter and the council rules, the committee conducts annual reviews of council-appointed employees, which is currently the town manager, town clerk, and the auditor. The committee's in the process of developing a way to do this that involves getting feedback from the entire council that's compiled by the committee into the final report. The goal is to do the evaluations in May after Town Manager Marino has been here for a year. So we'll be making a motion under new business to suspend the council rules to do that.
Because I believe the council will state.
Yeah, the council rules state that it has to be done by March 15th.
Thank you. School department report. We did have a school committee meeting last Monday night. We were graced by the presence of the town manager and the new CFO, who presented a budget, a draft budget, more of a format to take a look at and for the school committee to digest. Many questions surrounded a new format, and people are just trying to get an understanding of it. There is or was a budget subcommittee tomorrow for the school committee? Yesterday, there was a budget subcommittee meeting, and, you know, they'll be looking at this document. The town manager will be submitting a budget to us all in relatively short order. So there was much talk about the budget, and also there was good news with the winter sports teams and the success that they've had. I know girls' basketball was playing today. I do not have.
24-16 was the half.
Winning or losing?
Winning or losing?
Okay.
All right.
And I know the girls' hockey team is playing tomorrow in Revere, I believe.
7
The
o'clock.
game is in Revere at the Cronin Rink at, I believe, 7 o'clock, but you could check the school department website for that. And that was it on the school
And the
committee.
boys
We
lost
wish.
the heartbreaker.
Boys
Yeah,
lost
the
in
boys did
overtime,
lose
right?
in overtime, a heartbreaker to Amesbury.
Yep.
Yes.
And,
Now Amesbury has to go to Nantucket.
yeah, but it was a remarkable season for a lot of the winter sports teams, and we are truly grateful for the coaching and the support that they receive, most of all from their parents. Now, Town Manager Tony Marino.
Thank you, Council President. I wanted to elaborate on, Councilor Munson had spoke about the 5-year capital plan. I sent it out to all the councilors as promised on March 1st. Again, it's a draft document. What will be added to this is obviously, this is everything we want, and then there'll be a column added as to what we're proposing to actually pay for in FY24, which, because we won't be able to do it all. I did receive some feedback on the capital message that goes out with this. Still haven't finalized that yet. Some things we're gonna leave in there, some we're gonna take out, but I wanna just follow up with a couple of councilors on that before I put it out to the public, so that we'll do that shortly, but once we get that done, we will put this up on the website for the public to review, so they can see what's going on, and we'll have a little bit more in-depth presentation at the spring forum on the 21st, which was meant to be financial, so we'll do the budget, and we'll be able to review the base budget document that you referred to with the school committee, so. It was a great back and forth with the council members on the subcommittee, so I did appreciate that. I joked that I was actually having fun, but I actually did enjoy myself, so. It was a good back and forth, so I thank them for that. As was alluded to earlier during public comment, we did have 2 good meetings, one with Peg Lyons from the Housing Authority, and the other one is with Joyce Troyosi for the North Suffolk Community Services. Represents a lot of the group homes in town, so we did talk trash with that, with regard to the number of barrels, the total number of fees, and how to account for that and make sure we bill accordingly, so more to follow on that, but we're working out that plan. We've had continued progress on the Comcast contract. We had a meeting last week with Bill Solomon, our council, Mike Cabral, from WCAT, and Angela Barson, who's our Comcast rep. So we're working on that contract. Looking to put some capital in for WCAT and some other things. We also met with the, as you spoke, Council President, met with the school committee. We reviewed the base budget document. We're finalizing the numbers now. We were actually lucky enough to get the GIC increase last week. It looks like for us, GIC is going to go up 5.7 on average. But we have to take a little harder look at those numbers, because what's going on is, as I explained, there's Tufts and Harvard emerging. So anyone who's on the Tufts plan, if you can either pick another plan during open enrollment, or you're going to get put into the Harvard plan. The Harvard plan is slightly more money, so we got to take a look at how those numbers go across, and if we're going to really be a 5.7 or not. So we still looking at that, but it's nice to have all the data and the numbers in right now. as well as the Meyer increases for property liability and things like that. But we're still working with the police unions, both police unions, the patrolmen and sergeants, and then the Superior Union. We're making good progress on those. I did receive the quotes in through Rich Safuni, so thank him for that. For approximately about $8,500 for 3 new commercial flagpoles at E.B. Newton. One will be a 30-foot pole with the center pole with the American flag, and then 2 25-foot poles on either side. And we're, there's others around town are talking about doing some fundraising for that and whatnot, so we're still finalizing that, but they have those in place well before June. Attended a summer tunnel meeting last Friday on Zoom. They're making good progress. As everyone may or may not have heard, they are extending, they're going to close for July and August this summer, because they've analyzed it, and those are the 2, less congested month or less traffic months for the summer tunnel, so they're going to do that. They'll have some weekend closures in the fall through September, October, November, and then they have specific dates listed on their website if anybody's interested, and we'll put that link up on our website. But they also will do another closure next summer, in summer of 2024, for 2 months. They're doing a lot of structural work on it, ventilation, wiring, LED lighting, et cetera, et cetera. But they do have some working groups, and we asked to be on 2 of them. Have our fire chief on the public safety working group, and then I asked to put myself on the working group for transit issues, users and mobility, i.e. looking at, potential mitigation for Winthrop, and then also, to talk about, the upcoming ferry season and what we're gonna do there, so. And I think that's all I have, and I'm certainly open for questions.
And thank you on the update on the Sumner Tunnel. That is big. That, the plan right now is closure, different than what they've talked about in the past. So the
Yep.
plan now is complete closure, July and August.
Correct.
And I did ask you to try to go back to them and get some information if they'd be willing to start after the 4th weekend, since that's a crazy.
I think they're gonna have it open for the 4th weekend. They have some dates where they're open. I'll get those out to the council. Yeah, they, I'm actually, if I can actually pull it up now, but yes, I believe they are. I'll just double check that while while I'm answering questions.
And on the Comcast contract, that's always, generates a lot of questions around town, because, we appreciate Comcast, that they're the only provider really we have in terms of internet, but we always would like service to be better.
Yep.
So please.
I've talked to
Send
Angela about
our
coming in and
thoughts on
updating the
that.
council once we get a little closer on the contract. She agreed to do that. We did discuss, I know there's a lot of discussion on Facebook and other places with regard to, internet outages and things like that. They're looking at all their infrastructure. A lot of that has to do, she had a pretty good story as far as, people in their houses, and, they buy their own modems. They don't realize that modem they bought is a lot slower than what the Comcast, provides for service, and boosters, and, where you have your modem in your house. If you bury it behind the washing machine in the closet, that's not gonna work as well as, line of sight now, so.
Yeah.
We went over a lot of that. No, it's, I've actually dealt with it in my own house. I've had to put boosters in and things like that, so some of it's real. But anyway, but she did offer to come in and talk about that, and talk about the service and what Comcast has to offer, so. And as we get further along the contract, negotiation, she'll be in to talk
And
about it, so.
one of the other items that had been in past contracts, and I don't know if it just disappeared or what, but years ago, they had an office in town, and that was part of the contract, that people would be able to go down, pay bills, ask questions and such. And that kind of all went away and they said, well, East Boston's close enough. Well, it's not necessarily close enough, but, so I would like that to be brought up, at
Yep.
least, just to say whatever happened to that, because it had been in the contract for years. And we do appreciate the help that they give CAT and to the schools in terms of technology, so. Thank you. Councilor Ayala.
Go ahead.
Two topics, one on the capital plan. Thank you for the advancement of that work. Just a sort of editorial comment, the document that you haven't released yet is a full part of the plan.
Yes.
It's not an introduction and all that stuff, so I just want to make sure that it is integral to the plan. I think it would be helpful, to do it at the spring forum to sort of talk it through, et cetera.
Sure.
But in terms of planning out the meetings in particularly, say, early April, late March, early April, we ought to make sure there's at least one meeting where just a capital plan is viewed separate from the operating plan. Because my suspicion is the first time through, there are gonna be a lot of questions about how we doing this, why we doing this, et cetera. So I would just imagine this first cycle, we ought to accommodate time for that. The other thing is that I've had the pleasure of attending a few zoning board of appeals meetings at the request of some of the constituents from my district. And I am rather amazed at the number of applications that have been going in for more Airbnbs. This is an issue that Councilor Munson had raised back in February. I'm a bit worried about how easy it is to convert. I know a lot of people are trying to do that. I worry about the aggregate of a lot of Airbnbs being in this town. I really worry about the ability to monitor continued illegal. We've done some spot checks. There's still listings out there for people who aren't registered, and then for people who are registered to make sure they're working by it. And I'm not sure the fee structure that we have is sufficient to be able to pay for the oversight. And at the end of the day, if we think we're doing this for economic development reasons, should we be thinking about a fee structure that actually produces money to say to help pay for schools, help pay for some of the other needs that we have around this town? So the sooner the better. I know part of this is an ordinance. It just feels, when I was listening to the zoning board of appeals, people are talking about really licensing issues, people are talking about economic issues, people are talking about funding and finance issues. I'm not sure everything belongs in the zoning board of appeals. I think they do a great job around a bunch of things, but this is a really complicated issue, so it'd be helpful to, maybe it's the full council, or maybe it's in rules and ordinance, or maybe it's a special working group, but I think this thing needs to be attacked till we get it right and sort of try to figure out best practices coming from other communities. So if you can sort of think about that, and maybe the town council president's leadership, figure out how to get it all.
Yeah, if you want to elaborate, but yeah, we've
really.
You know, this is one of the things come out of the ORC, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
one of the things we want to move forward, and we're looking into legal and the options we have. We've talked, Tony and I have talked about different potential opportunities that the town has. I mean, in terms of loss of revenue that the town's seeing from this, potential revenue from this, the abuse of this, and, you know, there's a lot, and we just want to get it right. I don't think there's any doubt that we have to make some adjustments to this. When we did this 10 or 12 years ago, it was like, oh yeah, sure, let's somebody, you know, it was like, oh yeah, one little room off to the side, and now it's kind of blossomed into this crazy thing. But it's definitely going to be worked on. It's going to need the help of the whole council, but we've definitely had beginning discussions of this.
Yeah.
And Tony wants to.
And just something you mentioned tangentially but important is this change of use ordinance that we sent back to the ordinance committee. I think that's urgent to sort of come back out again as well. So.
And we have talked about the change of use, and one of the things on the change of use that, you know, we've quickly looked at to see how we get around it is, you know, for example, you know, a two-family might ask for a change of use to a three-family, and they're getting 1, 2, 3 of these a month, right? If we eliminated that from them, they would be coming to us, and we technically don't have the power to grant them. So we have to just look around it. You look, and the first thing normally you'd look at is say, there's only 12 or 14 other communities in the state that have this, so are we doing something wrong that we're one of those 12 or 14? Or is there a reason for it? And I think, you know, again, we want to do it right. We don't want to get called on it after something we did wrong, but definitely two of the biggest issues I think that came out of the ORC that we have to look at. But
I could be wrong in this, but isn't the change of use targeted towards not the within residential, should it be a two-family or three-family, but rather if you've got something in residential, can we turn it into industrial?
No, that's another, it's a continued use, but it's the same thing. It's
Yeah,
a change of use.
of that kind of thing. So, anyway, yeah, I would just, having not been to the zoning board of appeals before, I just am astounded at the number of things flying through and just urge us to get at these things
Yep.
very quickly.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you. Council Flockhart, and then Vice President.
I just wanted to inquire if there's been any progress on temporary signs for the CBD, since we
I
haven't,
think some
we
of them
have
are
to
in now,
wait
right?
a while.
Put up,
Yeah,
There's
say
been
we
some
put
we
put
have
up.
acquired all the signs, all the new signs to reflect the new language. We've installed every sign that has a pole at this point. We're in the process of scheduling a company to come in and do the corings on the sidewalk. And then the rest of the poles will be installed and we'll get the signs up. But we physically have the signs in our possession, so we're told that that company will be able to set the post by the end of this month. So they'll go up, all the signs that we've put up so far went up in a day, so it won't take long to get the rest of the signs up.
Excellent, very good.
Vice President Ruggiero.
Thank you, Council President. So in old business tonight, we're discussing a pest control line item and the solid waste ordinance. And I think these two things are somewhat related. We can talk a little bit more about the pest control issue, I guess, once we get to old business, but that was held off. We need a little bit more information, I think, on the strategy that they go about using that money and how we're sort of replenishing that line item. What seems like almost twice a year. I don't know. We voted on this before a few times, but to me, I've advocated for this in the past, and I'll ask again. But I really think like the education piece is almost just as important as the baiting. Like if we're doing the baiting, we kind of already have a problem. It might already be a little bit too late. So sort of preventing the presence of rodents, I think, is something that might go a long way. If ISD and Solid Waste Department could put out like a guide card, right, as we're heading into the spring months, on how folks can kind of help in this effort to control the pest population in town. I think that would be pretty helpful. I know that in years past, I've been contacted by constituents who have had some of these issues, and they're saying, what is the town gonna do for me? And I've pointed out, well, you might wanna get rid of that bird feeder out of your front yard. That's, again, I'm no expert, but it might be good to have some of our experts put together something like that so that there is a educational piece that goes along to this as well. I'll get off my soapbox on this one, but I think there's sort of a reaction and a proactive approach, so.
Thank you.
Council Munson.
Thank you. I had just a couple questions in relation to the town manager's report. One was, can you reiterate what you said about the flagpoles? You said you got some quotes from Rich regarding,
Yeah, we looked at a few different options, but the one we're gonna go with is 3 brand new poles, commercial grade. Like I said, one will be 30 feet for the center, flagpole for the American flag, and then the 2, one for the state flag and one for the community flagpole, will be 25-foot, brand new, installed in front of E.B. Newton, so.
oh, in front of the E.B. Newton?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's in addition to the town hall?
No, the town hall's got the one in the middle that's staying. This will just
And
be the
these
3
will be-
flagpoles set up in front of E.B. Newton.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you said something about fundraising for additional poles around?
Yeah, some other groups have offered to, potentially fundraise to, collect money. We can put it in as miscellaneous revenue or put it, target it right for it, but we'll look to fundraise and, try to cover some of the costs of the 8,500.
For those existing, for those new
Oh,
poles.
for the
not
new poles.
additional.
That's what I was just trying to get,
Yeah.
I mean, I apologize, because I wasn't here last meeting, so I wasn't sure if that was discussed during the flag policy discussion or not.
No.
No, that's unrelated, okay.
Yeah.
So this is just for fundraising for potential offsetting of the cost of those 3 new
For the new
poles in front of the
flagpoles,
E.B.
yeah.
Newton?
Yep.
Do you, if you want, I could also spread it along around the business community to see if we can get some fundraising, if that's an.
Yeah, we're looking to maybe do an event or something like that, but we gotta, I'm not really involved, but others are working on it, so.
Okay.
The policy itself is still with the town manager, it hasn't
Right.
come forward. Councilor Honan, please.
Yep, just to second what Councilor, or Vice President Ruggiero was saying about preventative measures for rodent control. I agree with him in regards to spring is approaching, more compost, more planting, more bird seed, as well as more people are outside eating, outside disposing in public bins, and there is the need for the more preventative approach to rodent control. I was a health inspector for 8 years with 2 different municipalities, and our focus was on prevention, because even though prevention might cost more upfront, in the long run, you're teaching your municipal staff how to deal with rodents before they're a problem and before we're just keep baiting and baiting. And another issue is the effect that next generation rodenticide has on the raptor and bird populations, especially raptor populations. If our rodents are eating these and then our raptors are eating the rats or mice, our raptors are dying, and that's an important piece, especially with Belle Isle and Deer Island, and we're seeing like a regeneration of our raptor populations. I'm sure people have seen owls and bald eagles and brown eagles around Winthrop even, which is amazing, but rodenticides can quickly take those out. So,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman?
One last thing I was curious about, is there any benefit to sending out flyers around the CBD to help enlighten them of the new policies so that they're not caught by surprise by not seeing signs or so forth?
With regard to,
Sign policy?
Well, there's new signs in the CBD,
Yeah.
and they're going up in the near future. But wouldn't it be wise to also let them know via flyers or just letters, being that they're the direct abutters?
yeah, well, just as far as we're putting them up and maybe the map of where they're going or maybe the
Just
policy around it or something?
Exact, the
Yeah,
hours
okay.
I mean, I just think it would be a double whammy of communication definitely gets the message across, and there will be no question, and then be less enforcement needs.
Yeah, I mean, the business owners were, you missed the last meeting, but the business owners were in and they were requesting the signage.
Yeah,
They were-
I read and
Or
reviewed
press,
them,
yeah.
and it looked like it was and I feel for them, quite
Yep,
frankly. I think
absolutely.
that they need to have their issues addressed.
Yeah, and we made that a priority based on their concerns, so we want to
Okay.
make sure they.
Thank
get
you.
Councilor Aiello?
Oh,
I'm sorry.
two quick things. Could you, number one, could you repeat the total amount of the estimate for the flagpoles?
8,500, 8,500.
8,500.
Installed.
And I believe if anybody listened to this, the proper place to make a donation is the Winthrop Fund. Is that the right place to put it into? or-
Let me, before I say that, I want to check
I
before
think
I
it would
say
be
that,
good
yeah.
to.
Yeah, we want to get the
in case
word
people
out.
want to send
Yep.
checks to you
Yeah,
rather
absolutely.
than cash.
Yeah,
Might be helpful to.
yeah, I don't want cash.
Go someplace.
Checks would be better, yeah. Cash goes to the treasurer collector's office, yeah.
Councilor Honan?
Sure. Sweats Liquors owner Paul Lucerdo caught me this morning. I was walking my dogs. He did bring out the signs as well. I think he maybe hadn't seen the signs yet, but he was asking me about the signs, and he wanted me to bring that up in the meeting today.
Yep.
So I
Thank you.
like Councilor Munson's idea about maybe just informing them, letting them know what's happening.
Yeah, and we'll reach out to Betsy Shane too and see if we can work with the chamber to
Yeah,
get the information out, yeah.
Jim, just a clarification question.
Councilor DeMarco?
Did you say that the 3 flagpoles were gonna be 25 feet, 50 feet, 25
No,
feet?
25, 25.
25, 30, yeah.
Okay.
The American flag has to be taller, per the
Yeah, of course.
flag
Yeah.
etiquette. And then the state and the community flags will be off to the side,
Okay.
the lower height.
All right,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay, thank you. Commission of Diversity, Inclusion, and Community Relations are scheduled to have a meeting tomorrow night.
And I will
correct?
be there, yeah.
And we will be, town manager will be reporting on that at our next meeting.
Yes.
Old business, Councilor Fusillo, council vote to authorize $12,719.80 for unpaid bills.
Yes, so I move that the town council vote to authorize unpaid bills of the prior year to be paid from current year department budgets as noted below, or take any other action thereto. The 2 most expensive are snow and ice and solid waste. The snow and ice was in the total amount of $5,120, and solid waste was in the amount of $5,223. The total amount, like I said, was $12,719. There was a bunch of various other small costs as well, but this went through committee and passed with a positive recommendation. Our justification was it's unpaid bills and it's bills that have to be paid. So that's a positive recommendation from the finance committee.
Came out of finance with a positive recommendation, does not need a second. Any discussion on this?
How did we
Councilor
have
Flockhart.
higher bills on snow and ice this winter when we had almost none of it?
You will anyway, but this is for fiscal '22 year. So these are bills that were billed after the fiscal '22 year ended, and now they have to be paid. Okay, but that's, I'm sure the director will talk about it, but you'd be amazed at the cost of just icing, just salting events. Every salting event could cost upwards of $15,000. And we've had multiple salting events. And that's a line item that is, you know, the one budgeted line item that you can knowingly underfund. And, but this is from last year.
Okay.
Fiscal '22. So also on this, there was, the other unpaid bill was capital, well, the other bigger amount was capital waste. And the only thing it said was from one event. Is that from that one event that accounted for $5,300?
I'd have to check, I'm not positive.
Okay.
I'm unaware of the bill. I don't know if this went directly to Robbie.
Robbie raises his hand on the,
Yeah, there was a bill for
For the Juneteenth holidays.
roughly $5,200
Oh,
for
yes, yes,
Juneteenth.
yes.
Is that just from the Ingleside Park?
No, it's the Juneteenth holiday, so they had to negotiate with their union, they had to bring their union in on a holiday.
Or to pick up, so it's the
Pick up,
cost,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
not
cost
the
of-
cost of disposal of the
Yeah, yeah.
additional trash. we have.
Exactly.
Okay, that's fine.
Robbie's online, if that's.
No, we figured it out, yeah, sorry.
Easy enough. Vice
I had
President
to
Joe.
look, yeah.
Question on that point, so is that the daily cost to have capital come and do what they do?
It
Or
would've
is
been an
that?
overtime, it would've been an overtime rate.
Not
Yeah.
normal,
Okay,
overtime,
all right,
because of the
so-
holiday.
All right, just trying to put this into perspective. I mean, I know the contract is
Juneteenth was
enormous,
a
but,
holiday.
okay.
The hauling contract is about $77,000 per month.
Got it,
So
okay.
that's a overtime, like I said, that's a
Right.
extenuating day.
On this.
Thank you.
Okay, Councilor Belcher.
Thank you. Is this the only holiday that we have them come in on? Juneteenth is the only day that this
This
comes
was
in?
out of the norm for this year
Okay.
because it hasn't, no one's really got policies, or they didn't have a policy around it
Okay.
at the
Yeah.
time.
Okay, thank you.
But there are, no, they basically adhere to the same holidays that we do.
Thank you.
All right, seeing no further discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Councilor Fusillo.
yes, this one is the, yes, the 15,000. All right, so I move that the town council vote to appropriate 15,000 from free cash to replenish the inspectional services, purchase services account due to extraordinary pest control expenses as estimated for the remainder of fiscal year 2023, or take any other action thereto. This was the one we pushed out of committee with no recommendation. Although I will say, it's not a bill that needs to be paid right this second, but it is something that will eventually need to be paid. But it's good to have those questions that we put out for different things. So yeah, no recommendation.
Okay, so this came out of committee without a recommendation, would need to be seconded first of all to be discussed. Is there a second on the motion? Second by Councilor Belcher. Discussion on the motion. So, Vice President Ruggiero.
I don't have to, this comment, but I also have a comment, so you can take over.
Can you take Robbie? Robbie wants
Sure.
to speak on it.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Assistant CFO, yeah.
Assistant CFO, Robbie Polishuk. Can you hear us?
Robbie, you went on?
No pressure, Robbie.
No, yeah, so, yeah, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
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 I was like, he can't hear us.
All right, yeah, so this, it's a long item, that it,
We can't hear you.
Yeah,
You're breaking up.
We just lost
Want
him.
to try again, Robbie?
yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, this is a line item that, you know, has been traditionally underfunded. The cost has come down, it was in the $60,000 range a few years ago. Last year, we had 15 in that account, this year we budgeted 25. It's gonna come out to that 40,000 again, like it has the last 2 or 3 years. What it is it's baiting at, you know, various places around town. They have kind of standard, you know, every 3 weeks they check it, every 2 weeks they check it. It's definitely a discussion that should be had with ISD, if you wanna learn more about, where baiting is happening, how often it's happening. But I did have them do an analysis as we were coming close to that 25,000, and they estimated that with the program they have, it will be about another 15. So in line with last year at 40,000. It's when we have tried to fund more over the years. And previously, before it became part of the ISD budget, it was a special article where every year we come and, ask to replenish that special article with some amount of money. Build it up, to use it down, come back. So we really tried to put in that purchase service line to, have it become part of the total budget. But yeah, again, as far as ISD questions, if you want more information, I would have to suggest they come in.
Thank you. I do have even the wording of the motion, because I'm under the impression, like you just said, we've put in a cost, we knew it was probably gonna be a little bit more, but the wording of the motion says it's due to an extraordinary pest control expense. So to me, that's saying that we had budgeted everything and this was something crazy that we didn't expect. Is that accurate?
I can't say as to how much they actually knew beforehand that they were going to use. I can just say that along with the finance committee, the Citizens Finance Commission and Finance Committee, that 25 is what we could find in the budget. And, they're going above and beyond that. That's, sort of on that, they're supposed to stay within that 25,000, whether they can or not. But I would consider them extraordinary due to, not having them funded as of now.
Well, and I know, and I did state that, the Finance Commission did do a great job in making this a line item and not having it a special article and trying to fund it. But looking at this as a contractual service, you would think that there's a service and we're paying X amount of money a month, and it should be relatively easy to budget. So, in accordance with, in addition to this, and maybe through Steve, where there are so many projects going on, and for example, the TIPS project, but even National Grid, in those areas when National Grid's ripping up Revere Street for 2.5 years, is part of that contract going to pest control in that area, or is the town still paying for that?
Those big projects have conditions that the contractors have to pay. So that money should not be funding or being spent on Revere Street or any of the.
Right. So can we get, and maybe this is just a longer discussion to try to get with the company to see where they're baiting and to make sure they're not baiting in areas that we're already having baited by National Grid or whoever's doing. It just seems to be, like you would think this year it might be a little higher because, for example, last year the CBD project was going on and it was part of the project, and now that comes back to the town. But it just, I think we're going in the right direction of getting control of this, but we're not there yet. And a contract should be relatively easy to budget.
And so Jim,
Yes.
sorry.
Yep.
ISD, when they did request more money, they had a conversation, when I had a conversation with them, they are constantly changing their baiting. As the problem subsides somewhere, they're stopping baiting there and moving it, or, adding. So there are additional baitings that are happening that, aren't on a specific schedule. They kind of, become on a schedule. That, it was a place that didn't have baiting, and now it does. So it is constantly changing in that extraordinary sense that you're looking for.
Yeah, it just seems like, going back to what Vice President Ruggiero and Councilor Honan said, it seems like we're being reactive instead of proactive in some of this stuff. But let me, Councilor Aiello?
So Robbie,
Vice
just a
President.
question, a couple of questions relative to patterns. Do we have, say, like the last 4 or 5 years of what the end-up spend has been? So we can look at sort of averages and then note special conditions in a given year, like the president just mentioned the center project, so we could sort of see what the trend line looks on this stuff. And then the second, for this past fiscal year, this fiscal year that we're talking about, did they actually only request 25, even though the previous year was 40? Or did they request 40 and we only gave them 25? I think those are some of the things we'd like to sort of understand.
So yes, they requested 15, They didn't change their request. So
1.5?
we bumped it
No,
up.
no, no, at the beginning of the year, you
Yes,
said
that's
they,
what he's saying.
they got 20.
Yeah, so when they presented their budget, they asked for 15, but we gave them
The
25.
council, the finance commission bumped it up, knowing that it's gonna probably be more than 15. And this is something that, you know, a few years back was never funded. It was part of a special article, and they would come back to the council multiple times during the year. So we're trying to get all the unfunded liabilities that we know and make sure that they're on the budget, so it's more, you know, it's there, it's more transparent. And that's my question now, something like a contractual service should be relatively easy to budget, if you had them, and I think what Robbie's saying too is, you know, this is a new line that wasn't funded, so we're taking money from someplace else to try to seed it, to try to get it to go. Similar to years ago with snow and ice, we used to put 25,000 or 40,000 in, knowing that it was gonna be over 100,000, now it's over 250,000, and we're up to 125 or whatever we're at.
We're over that. We're over 200,000 right now.
In budgeted? No, I'm saying in budget,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And what happens, you know, once, in snow and ice, for example, once you know, you try to get that more to a realistic number. So we went from 40 to 60 to 80 to 100 to 125. The one thing you could do is you could continue to go up. You can't go back down. So if this is gonna be a really bad fiscal year, and we say, we know we can underfund snow and ice, you can't go down. So you gotta be somewhat realistic, you know, realistic in your finances, but you're right, Councilor Hale, this is something that, you know, we're trying to get more in. They requested 15, the Finance Commission bumped it to 25, knowing that that's more realistic. And what this is saying is we're still like 15 grand short.
But similar to what was last year.
Right.
Yeah.
Vice President Ruggiero.
Thank you. This brings up just another point. So do we have a contract that we, you know, here's the list of services that we're gonna provide, and here's the amount it costs, or is this sort of just an ad hoc, whenever we pick up the phone, we want a bait box put here, then they just kind of bill us off to the side? Do you know how it works? I know.
ISD is a vendor, and I think it's something I've already looked at, because we have a different vendor here for Town Hall, right? So we have baiting and stuff that goes on in Town Hall, and I think ISD is a different vendor. So I've talked to Al about putting it out, and let's put it out to bid and see if we can get one vendor and do the whole town, so we can try to,
Okay.
one, have a better plan, and two, you know, maybe try to have some cost savings. So that's something that's gonna happen next year as well.
Yeah, because to the council president's point, it seems like if there's a contract in place, there's usually a number associated with the contract, and
I don't think that exists now, I think, yeah, but
it's
that's
more
what we're
just,
working on.
okay,
Yeah.
I think that's really the direction we should go with this,
Yeah.
but secondarily, you know, TIP project, National Grid, though, that rodent baiting situation, it might be handled through those contracts separately, but for the town-sponsored construction, like what's happening up Crest Ave and down onto Grover's to sort of tie into those, that's a town-operated, so is there a rodent,
There's language in the
okay,
contract
that-
for that contract,
got it,
it has to be.
okay, so that wouldn't come out of this
No.
as
part
an
of the
additional,
cost.
It
okay,
should, as long as it's coordinated.
got
I
it,
don't,
okay.
you know,
Yeah.
it's, gotta make sure that they're coordinating their locations. I'm never told where they're being.
Okay, I just wanna make sure it's getting done. There's an extraordinary amount of, to use that term, there's gonna be an extraordinary amount of construction happening in, my precinct, this year between Tip, Revere, and Crest and Grover, so I wanna make sure that that's being done, whether it's through this or, through the other methods in place, but those are just my concerns.
You just don't want it to be doubly done. That's my
Exactly,
point.
right, but
And
sometimes
that's why we just need to,
we
you know.
question whether it's done at all, and that's, I think.
My street should be fun for the next.
Council Flockhart, and then Council.
Okay, thank you. If we do those contracts, can we specify in the contract that it be raptor-sensitive bait?
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll ask, yeah. Just getting into it, so I don't wanna,
Okay. but
we wanna make sure it's environmentally friendly, and yeah,
You know,
so.
given Belle Isle Marsh.
I get it, yeah, no, all makes sense.
Council Aiello?
Just a question for Steve. So on a case like either Revere Street or Crest Ave, whether it's funded by the state or funded by us, there's a requirement baked into the contract to provide a number of locations, et cetera, for pest control. Does the monitoring of that obligation in the contract fall to ISD, or does it fall onto DPW, or how does that?
Falls on the construction administration.
The construction administration folks, so it stays within the contract responsibility, okay.
And Robbie, before, just a quick question too. So there obviously seems to be some questions on this going forward. You know, we have a motion in front of us. I know that's probably to get us through the end of the fiscal year, hopefully. Is this something that you need a motion on this evening for that amount?
This evening will be best. They are running up against that 25,000 that they have in their budget, because they will have bills coming in, every month they get billed. So tonight would be great. If you would like ISD to come in and speak some more to it, then the next meeting we'll have to do that.
Okay, thank you. Right, so there is a motion on the floor, there's a second, it's in discussion, you know, giving you guys the options, you can vote on it as is, as the 15, you could amend the motion to maybe get them through another meeting, maybe amend it to 5 or 7,500, and then come back at the next meeting, or you could just hold it off. Continue it. Councilor Aiello.
I'd like to make a motion to pay it in full, subject to an obligation of ISD and the vendor coming at a future meeting after the spring forum. Don't do it right away, but at a
That's
time.
fine. No, we will absolutely have ISD, that's fine. So the motion is still on the table to pay, contingent upon ISD coming in before us. Any further discussion on the motion?
Second.
Okay.
Yeah, it seems to make sense.
Yep. All right, we'll vote on, so the amendment is just to include a provision that ISD comes before us to go over the contractual obligations
My
and.
intent is, but we will pay them
Yes.
immediately.
So there's a second on, so we'll vote on the amendment to include ISD to come before us. So we will vote on that first. I'll ask for a roll call vote, please.
Council Honan?
Yes.
Council Pasillo?
Yes.
Council Munson?
Yes.
Council Belcher?
Yes.
Council DeMarco?
Yes.
Council Flockhart?
Yes.
Council Aiello?
Yes.
Vice President Ruggiero?
Yes.
President Lettieri?
Yes, and I'll ask for a vote as amended. Is there any further discussion on the motion as amended? Seeing none? Yes, Councilor Honan, I'm sorry.
I would like, if somebody could ask ISD to bring copies of reports from the vendor, I'd like to see them signed and dated reports from the vendor indicating what they've done. So I'm an auditor, and when I audit a supplier of ours, I ask for pest control reports. And most of them are visited monthly, and they present me with monthly reports from the vendor, and they have to be signed and dated, and they show what they've done, what they've looked for, how they treated, if they treated, that sort of thing. And that's what I'd like to see from ISD. I'd like to see some sort of evidence of reporting from the supplier.
Okay.
That is a friendly amendment to my amendment.
Yeah, I don't even think that's just a request from
A
Councilor
request.
Honan, which will be, so they'll be prepared when they come before us of the information we're looking for. Councilor Munson?
I'm just wondering if it wouldn't be more efficient to just have Tony see them and just have it, and make the best call for the town. I'm just,
Well, or we could send it to Public Safety and have the subcommittee deal with it.
right.
So either way, but I think in regards to this motion, the point of Councilor Aiello's motion is to make sure we get clarity on this and to see what's being paid, where's being paid, and what's our direction going forward. So we can decide after if Councilor Aiello feels it's better or just as good to have it go to a subcommittee, that would be fine with me.
Okay.
All right?
Yeah, I'm fine to have it
Okay.
amended as such.
And have ISD go to a subcommittee and discuss it with them.
It might allow for more flexibility in terms of timing, because I don't know how many vendors come out at 7 PM to talk, as opposed to during the day would be a lot easier.
All right.
No, but it'd be a public safety committee, so likely it'd be in the evening anyway.
Oh, it would, so it wouldn't change that much.
Depending on the availability
Well,
of the
one
committee.
of our members works all day long. Two
Well,
of us
yeah.
don't.
That's quorum.
Yeah.
There is, and you could do a Zoom. There's a motion on the floor, it's been amended, there's a passage of the amendment. We're going to vote on the motion as amended, which is, to sum up, basically to pay the $15,000 as long as we have assurances that we're gonna get answers from ISD on the questions we have asked. Roll call, please.
Council Honan?
Yes.
Council Pasillo?
Yes.
Council Munson?
Yes.
Council Belcher?
Yes.
Council DeMarco?
Yes.
Council Flockhart?
Yes.
Council Aiello?
Yes.
Vice President Ruggiero?
Yes.
President Lettieri?
Yes, that is passed. Back to Councilor Fusillo.
All right, lastly is the There's a motion to review and possibly change the fire department's fees. Like I said before, they haven't been changed since 1996, according to the fire chief. And this is just to bring them up to the same cost as the surrounding communities around us. This did come out of the finance committee with a positive recommendation.
Came out with a positive recommendation, does not require a second. Any discussion on this motion?
I think it's long overdue.
There was a list of fees. Oh, Council Honan, I'm sorry.
Me again, sorry. So, yeah, no change in almost 30 years is crazy, you know, in terms of inflation and what people make and what people should pay. So I think 30 years is absolutely should be brought up to speed with at least equal to other communities. Thanks.
And just for clarification, most of these fees are $25 going to $50, basically 75 going to $150, and that's basically what they are. They
think it's
basically
double across the
doubled
board.
from 20 years ago. Any other discussion on the motion? Seeing none, I'll ask for a roll call vote.
Council Honan?
Yes.
Council Picello?
Yes.
Council Munson?
Yes.
Council Belcher?
Yes.
Council DeMarco?
Yes.
Council Flacott?
Yes.
Council Aiello?
Yes.
Vice President Ruggiero?
Yes.
President Lettieri?
Yes,
Thank you.
passed. Flag policy, I believe that's gonna be continued, but
Yeah.
Town Manager,
We'll have a draft for the
hopefully have a
21st.
draft for the next meeting. Solid waste ordinance, on the flag policy, sure.
I had sent you a note about, you had mentioned once before the Wakefield policy.
Yep.
If that's what we're following, is it possible to just sort of circulate in advance to the council members so we can look at it on the?
I've got our new, it just started Monday, council, working on the draft policy, just I wanna make sure it matches up with the Shercliffe case, I think that's what I'm pronouncing it right.
But if you could distribute the Wakefield policy as well, so we can map it to that, that would be good.
Yeah, there's gonna be changes to it, so you know, some of it'll be substantial, cause we're gonna do it a little different, cause they actually have their council vote on it, and we're not gonna do that, we're gonna have a list of set dates on it, so.
That's up to the council. It would be great to
Oh, no,
have a
absolutely, yeah.
copy of the Wakefield.
Oh, yeah, no, we sent that around, I already sent it around once, but I'll send it around
I
again.
don't recall it, but that would be
Yeah,
great. So
yeah,
I think that's an
absolutely.
important discussion about where decision-making lies.
Oh, no, absolutely, it's not,
Thank you.
but it's just a draft policy that I was asked to draft, and I just wanna make sure it follows the law, that's all. Yeah.
It follows the law,
Yeah,
but then there's a
yeah.
policy issue that,
Oh, without a doubt, that's
the
fine.
council
I'm not
has to wrestle
speaking for the
with.
council, I'm just letting you know, I didn't want you to think that that's what I'm providing as a draft, that's all.
All right, thank you.
Solid waste ordinance, going to send to rules. Once again,
Yeah.
because you have nothing else to do.
No, we'll take it. You know, we've seen it a couple times, so there should be no
It should be
surprises,
quick.
yeah.
It should be returned. Thank you. Committee handbook, Councilor Belcher.
I'd like to make a motion, oh, sorry, just kidding. This I will circulate, like I said, to the council, and we'll hopefully vote on it next meeting.
Okay. New business. We have none.
What about Winthrop Beach access?
There's a couple.
Oh,
Coming before us right now, but Councilor Honan might have, Councilor Belcher might have something for us.
I would like to make a motion to suspend the council rules, Rule 8, Section F, in order to change the date of the annual review and evaluation of council employees from March 15th to May 16th.
Second.
Second.
It's a motion by Councilor Belcher, second by Councilor DeMarco. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Second round of public comment. Yes, Karen.
Just one statement I want to make. I'm glad you mentioned having an Xfinity or Comcast office in town. Last Friday, my daughter and I had to go to the Xfinity store in East Boston, which is now on Border Street.
Yes.
We drove around twice. We finally had to go into the Shaw's parking lot. There was absolutely no place to park up there. The place was very nice. The
Yes.
people in the store were very, very nice. But to get to it is almost an impossibility.
No, they are very nice. The store is very clean. It's big, it's
It is.
spacious, it's comfortable, but can't get there from here.
Can't get there, that's for sure.
Any other public comment? Anything on Zoom, Denise? All right. Public relations, March 21st, our next council meeting, we will have the spring forum at 7. And in the charter, we to have 2 public forums during the year, one in the spring, which concentrates on finance, one in the fall, which concentrates on town services. So it will be exciting, interesting, and it will be held at the DeLeo Senior Center so we can fit all the people that will be attending. Also, April 29th, another exciting event from 10 to 12, the annual Rabies Clinic at the Old Middle School Auditorium. Come one, come all. Any public relations, Councilor Honan?
No.
Councilor Fusillo?
No.
Councilor Munson?
Yes, please, thank you, Town President. We are having a blood drive this Friday at the Odd Fellows Hall at 196 Winthrop Street. If anyone would like to give blood and save lives, feel free to do so this Friday.
Councilor Belcher?
No.
Councilor DeMarco?
You're gonna be surprised. No.
Councilor Aiello?
Nope.
Councilor wow, fuck that. Vice President Ruggiero?
I have nothing.
Town Manager Marino?
Sorry, I have one thing, just to follow up what I said earlier. The following weekends, the Sumner Tunnel will be opened. April 14th, 2023, Patriots Day holiday, May 12th, Mother's Day, May 26th, Memorial Day, and they will be open the weekend up through July 4th, which I believe is a Tuesday, and then the closure will start July 5th on that Wednesday. So they'll be open that whole 4th of July weekend up through that Tuesday.
Wait, she missed public comment.
That was it, so I just want to let you know.
Yes.
I just wanted to congratulate the Winthrop High School Trauma Society, who was at the METG competition this weekend. And they've moved forward to semis with their production of Frankenstein.
That's awesome. They always do. They always do an incredible job, and unfortunately this weekend it was postponed a day, but it's year in and year out. They never cease to amaze, and they do a fantastic job.
Excellence equals Winthrop High School Trauma Society.
Yes.
Girls
Congrats.
they lost.
All started by Neil
On a
Shapiro.
roller coaster.
All right. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Motion by Councilor Fusillo, second by Councilor Belcher. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
No. Meeting